I think Pogba wants to go, obviously. Lukaku wants to go. De Gea doesn't seem overly happy there. Nemanja Matic has got interest from Inter Milan. I think the one most likely to go at the moment is Lukaku. I think that, Inter have made it clear they've spoken to United. United aren't speaking publicly on it, but I've been told that they will take an offer from Lukaku, but they want their money back on Lukaku, which I think they're being optimistic, considering that, they spent almost £90 million to sign Lukaku 2 years ago. And I just think he's been shown up to be not top class, not a Man United player. So you could argue that Inter Milan is equally as big a club in terms of global stature as United, but Serie A, it's a lesser league in terms of competitiveness. I think Lukaku will score goals there, but I think United are probably thinking that the one player they can find a market for is Lukaku, and if they get 75, 80 million pounds for Lukaku, well, they've got Alexis Sanchez to come back, they've got Marcus Rashford, they've got Anthony Martial. They could maybe spend the money they get for Lukaku on strengthening the midfield, because they look very, very thin on quality midfield right now.
Yeah, but Mark, those players you mentioned, Rashford, granted, still young, maybe yet to really prove himself. Alexis Sanchez, you can't have him in that conversation. And Martial, we've seen, isn't particularly reliable in a United shirt. It is a bit of a gamble, isn't it, for United? I understand why they want their money back for Lukaku, but there isn't exactly an instant replacement round the corner.
Well, it's a gamble in the sense that, you're losing a proven goal scorer. But last season, he didn't score enough goals for United, so he didn't perform to what the expectations were. So,
but who do you get in, Mark? Who do you replace him with?
Well, I think that Sanchez is worth persevering with. I think that he's had 18 months at United, and he didn't fit in straight away. He fell out with Morneo, didn't play where he wanted to play, came back injured. He's not really had a run at it. Now, people say, well, Sanchez had enough chances, but I think, Sanchez is one of those players who's got true quality. And I think if you can kind of give Sanchez a bit of love, just tell him that you're going to give him a chance, he'll deliver much more for than Romelu Lukaku. I think Lukaku's been found out. I think Sanchez has also been found out in the sense that he found out that he's a top quality player. He's just had a bad time. I don't think Lukaku's top quality. So you're right, ideally they'd sign another striker, but United have got so many problems all over the pitch that I think the key at the minute is to get the midfield stronger and the defence, because without a strong defence or a strong midfield, the strikers can score 3 goals a game and they're still not going to win the game.
Oggy, always the optimist, isn't he? Yeah. Alexis Sanchez, where are you standing on this?
Really? Saying that, you have to persevere with Alexis Sanchez simply because nobody's going to take him. There's not a market for Alexis Sanchez. So right now, you're just hoping that somehow, being away with the national team, maybe he's turned some kind of a corner, and you're hoping for the best.
But do you see my point? If you're getting rid of Lukaku...
But to your point, let's say I'm Paul Pogba, and there's genuine interest from any number of clubs across Europe. I'm looking within this dressing room as to who we've signed, who we're linked with, and more to the point, who also wants to leave. I'm not filled with all that much optimism.
If you consider at this point that the argument is that Alexis Sanchez is going to turn it around, that he's going to become the angular piece of our attack, well, that's when you know you got issues. Alexis Sanchez has his own problems to deal with. And, oh, by the way, he's got to stay healthy. And we don't know that that's going to happen. And he's not playing in Chile. See, geography 101. Manchester,
yep.
It's not Santiago.
That's it. That's the analysis we bring.
Meanwhile,
boys,
it's
glad I showed up today.
Yeah. Very special week for Mark Ogden.
Oh, is it?
Because he was the first guest on the Gab and Jules podcast.
Oh!
Congratulations.
Break on the cake.
What a moment. On the said podcast, Gab is trying to play down a little bit the possibility that Pogba wants to leave, just saying that he's looking basically for reassurance from the club. Are you on the same page as Gab on this?
I can see Gab's theory, but I'm not with it completely, because I think that Pogba's not been happy there for at least 18 months. So I think if Pogba could find an escape route, he'd take it without even blinking an eye. I think if he does get offered a new contract, he'd probably take it. But Pogba's not happy at United. He wants to be surrounded by players that are of a similar level, if not better than him. At Juventus, he was surrounded by great players. It made him look a better player. With France, he's surrounded by great players who won the World Cup. At United, he's surrounded by players that are so inferior to him that it kind of drags him down to their mediocrity. And I think he's looking around thinking, well, he's 25, 26 now. He's reaching the peak of his career. What is he going to win at Man United in the next 4 years? And an FA Cup maybe, a League Cup, Europa League. They're not exactly the big trophies. He wants to win the Champions League. He wants to win the Premier League. And he can't wait around long enough at Man United for that to happen. And I also think that Pogba's a player that you add into a top team to make them better. He's not a player that you build a team around. And Man United right now have got different requirements. They need they need quality in every department of the pitch, and Paul Pogba is a luxury player in that squad, sadly, because as talented as he is, as many goals he scores and he creates, he's not surrounded by the players that make him play better and make him deliver week in, week out. And I saw so many games last season where Pogba was a passenger, and he brought United down a level because he was so poor. I just think it's best for all parties if he moves on, but I don't see where he goes because Real Madrid have spent the money elsewhere, Barca have spent the money elsewhere, Juventus remain interested, but they've spent money on De Ligt, they've spent big money on wages on Aaron Ramsey, on Rabiot, on bringing Buffon back, at some point, and they spent money on Ronaldo last year. Where does the money come from? So Pogba might have to stick it out for one more year.